plenty of time with the city council in the past year, and that is garbage. And this question comes from a Facebook reader on the Destin Log site. And here we go. For the third time since its incorporation, Destin citizens were required to file a petition of repeal in order to stop the city council from implementing a controversial new ordinance for collecting service fees. Looking back, what would you have done differently to avoid putting Destin through this painful process? Do you think the city ultimately benefited as a result of the petition of repeal, or would you still like to see the original ordinance passed? And we start with Ms. Dremel.
First of all, I don't see the process through which the citizens went as a negative. I look at that as very positive for us. We're sitting up here, 7 members, coming up with an idea, passing it, hadn't heard from anybody until 4 or 5 citizens spoke up. Well, when you're looking at the city of Destin and you want to know what in the world 4 or 5 citizens are saying versus the whole silent majority, you have no idea how big the silent majority is. I think the process worked beautifully. And personally, I'd like to see it done more often. It didn't change my mind. What it changed was the fact that now I understand there are more citizens than the 5 that stood up there and spoke that also agree with this or disagree with this. So I had no problem saying, let's look for a different solution. So to me, it's the best process I think that we have. I personally took it as a thank you very much. I appreciate knowing that there are more than just 5 citizens out there who came to the meetings and let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wadhammer.
I think when we initially approached the problem, we felt that the collection, we wanted the Clean City Initiative, which meant that every residential property in the city would have garbage collection and service. This has not always been the case. There were approximately 600 properties that were not receiving service. We initially took that approach because it was the simplest to collect the money through the tax collector, existing county tax collector. When that apparently was not the right solution according to the citizens, we then developed a second solution so that the garbage hauler would again bill the citizens for the garbage service, but the city was going to enforce that citizens would have garbage service at every residential unit. And this is, in the end, accomplished our initial goal of ensuring that every residential unit would have garbage service. Thank you.
And Mr. Wood.
I think if you go back and check the council agendas for 2011, trash was on every one of them, the entire year. I learned more about trash than I care to know, frankly. But it was a very detailed issue, and it was a little contentious. But you know, contentiousness is not a bad thing. You know, we had initially, as a tax-paying citizen, I looked at the issue of putting your trash bill on an ad valorem special assessment and thought, for me, it was a pretty good deal. I don't have a problem paying my taxes. Some folks do, and I understand that. And you know, as we went through the process, we knew that many communities in Florida used the same thing. And they went through the same issues we went through. Some of them stayed the course, and some of them didn't. When presented with a petition of my citizens, one thing that I did not do was vote against the petition, especially one with 1,500-something names on it. You don't get petitions that often. It was the first one that I dealt with, and I was not going to vote against it. In the end, you pay for your trash, whether it's by tax or by quarterly bill from Waste Management, and in the end it gets paid for. We got rid of the stickers. The trash is going to get picked up. It's not going to litter our city. And I think as an overall process, it will probably be better because we went through that process. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Dixon.
Yes, I think, to be honest with you, I really never said this out loud, but I think it was a bad idea. I think it was a bad idea, and I think that the citizens basically called the council on it. And when I say a bad idea, I don't mean I'm not trying to be negative toward any present council member or anything like that, but I just think that sometimes we need to get citizens advisory committees together and maybe run things by them. Take a select group of citizens and bring them in and talk to them and let them know what you're trying to do. I think one of the things on this particular issue was the fact that when the citizens got their notice that came that said that their trash bill was going to be put on their tax bill, that was the first time they actually saw where this could happen. And I think that's where all the citizens came out and they voiced their concerns. Everybody doesn't read the newspapers. Everybody doesn't keep up with what's going on up here with the city council. So I think that basically what happened was when they got the first notification or the letter that was received, I think that basically brought them out in droves. And I feel like that, well, I know that anything that goes on in your tax bill is then a tax. And from that point, why not do something else? And I think that basically is the crux. The whole problem is that this would have been a tax. It would have been a tax that would have been sometimes, if it was not a house that was occupied.
You, Mr. Marler.
Well, first off, the city hired Waste Management to pick up our garbage and do the billing. And then they want to say, no, we don't want to bill, we want somebody else to bill because we're not getting all the money we're supposed to get. Great, all right? We can get code enforcement out there to help try to get the people that aren't paying. Secondly, we should have went out for bid. I know, I've heard that it's been, they put it out for bid and nobody came back. Well, if you have to do it 3 or 4 times to get it out for bid, that's the one thing, because prices will go down. Thirdly, they negotiated over a year in advance for the contract, which meant cost of the fuel, cost of a lot of other things were different at the year in advance to what they are now. Fuel went up, fuel went down, back and forth. We hired a company to do the job. They're supposed to do the job, not us. The citizens or the city to do the job. If they wanted to find a collection agency, they should have found a better way to collect the bill other than to force us to put it on our tax bills and everything. It might have worked to make everyone do their fair share, but it was just going about the wrong way.
Thank you. And Mr. Monty.
Thank you very much. Well, this is one of the main reasons I'm here tonight, and this is the police contract that was in question this summer. The council failed to see what this one man already said, that the people first realized when they got the notice in the mail they hadn't been paying attention, whatever. And so they were very upset, and they came here, and the vast majority spoke out against it that night. And not very often do you have 16, 17 people speaking out on a single issue in one night at this council meeting. And so that the council failed to see what they were doing was an overreach is why I'm here today, to remind them that the citizens require more from their servants, which is what we are. We're a service industry. This is a volunteer group, and we're here to serve and listen to what the people want and to enforce their will.
Thank you.